Hey, what's going on? Keith here of Sports Vibes TV, and I'm joined today by one of my friends and a fellow Knicks fan, CJ. CJ, how's everything with you?
Everything's good, Keith. How you doing, man? Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you joining me today for a nice Friday stream. Going to talk some Knicks. Going to talk about the offseason outlook. A lot of news has been circulating around our New York Knicks, whether it be bringing in new players or extending and re-signing some of our own. So we'll jump into that. Thank you for everyone that's tuned in. I already see Chris St. James, Splash 1676 in chat. Thank you all for tuning in. We've got a jam-packed show today for you guys. Now, CJ, been a while since you've been on the channel. I know. Remember, it was
Right.
Inv and I. We had a discussion with you talking about Quick when he got
Right.
drafted. So I think this is the first time you've been here since then. So thank you once again for joining me, and let me know some of your thoughts about how the season went, and what's your outlook for this team this offseason.
I think it was a successful season for the most part. I kind of wish we went further because I felt like we were the better team. We should have beat the Miami Heat, but our star didn't show up. Tibbs got out coached and whatnot, but I think for the most part it was a successful season. I didn't expect us to go as far as we did. Hats off to Tibbs. But once we started playing and I started seeing how the Jalen Brunson signing worked for us and we gelled together, I started having a little bit of expectations, but I try not to have too much for the Knicks. Try to keep it, low base if I can, so I won't be upset at the end of the season. But I think, no one saw us going to the second round. No one definitely saw us going beating Cleveland Cavaliers, especially after not signing Donovan Mitchell. But I think the season was successful. There's a lot to build on. We got our star now. We know who to build the team around. We know who we got to move. We've seen more. We've seen less from some of our young players. So we got a nice core. We know what works, and now it's just about a little bit of tweaks and moving forward. What we can do, what we can't do.
Yeah, but there's two camps right now. Some people think we're good enough to run it back, and with a year of development, some of these younger guys will step up next playoffs. And we're good as is. And there's another segment of the fan base that believes we should go try to make a big splash and bring in another piece to pair with Jalen Brunson. So I'll put on screen Jalen
Right.
Brunson. You mentioned how he was able to step up this season, and if you were able to look at the stats, you can see he really elevated his game come postseason, especially when a lot of the
Right.
guys around him really didn't, show up. We're going to talk about Julius Randle. We're going to talk about some of the young guys, Emmanuel Quickley, who really didn't have good postseason performances. But Jalen Brunson, you can see in the postseason, he elevated his points per game from 24 in the regular season to 27.9. Rebounds,
Right.
that went up from 3.5 in the regular season to 4.9 in the postseason. Assists per game, that went down. But again, that's another thing that you can look at his teammates. His teammates weren't really knocking down shots. So the assists per game went down from 6.2 in the regular season to 5.6 in the postseason. Turnovers remained the same, and a lot of his efficiency numbers stayed the same, except for the 3-point shot. 3-point shot was an area where he did, regress come postseason. But he's dealing with injuries. He had a lower leg injury that he was dealing with in the postseason, and it was almost like a one-man crew for a lot of those games out there. We did see Josh Hart step up, and RJ Barrett. He also had some quality performances in the postseason. But I think this front office, they did a great job bringing in Jalen Brunson, and he shows that he is him, and he's a player that we should continue to build upon. When Jalen Brunson was initially signed, how did you feel about the signing? Did you expect him to perform this way?
I'm gonna be honest. Initially, when we signed Jalen Brunson, I had questions. I wasn't sure. For the amount of money, it seemed like a lot at that point. But then when you take a look at the contract, you see, okay, each year he gets paid less and less, which, I feel like he's underpaid at this point now after seeing what he did this season. You know, but after watching his performance with Dallas last year in the playoffs, I seen what he's capable of. He's always been a winner ever since high school, since Villanova. I wanted that kind of guy, that steady point guard in our locker room because we haven't had one
Starberry, if that.
since Marbury and shit. I was a little kid then, but
right.
sad when you think about it. So I was happy we got our point guard, but it was mixed feelings. Seeing what the Hawks gave up for DeJounte Murray. I felt like, damn, we had more than that. We could have got that. Talks about Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell, All-NBA guy. He's been an All-Star for how long now? And he's been like a playoff killer for how long now? So, but, I like Jalen Brunson. I just wasn't sure how it was going to work. I knew he would help our young guys get easier shots, help Julius Randle get easier shots and things like that. But I didn't expect him to do what he did this season, though. If I'm being honest with you, I didn't expect it, but I'm happy about it. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, I'm in the same camp. Now. Definitely underpaid. Like you said, his contract is descending, so it'll allow us to continue to build around him. And, if you look at the contract, he's pretty much got 2 more years. The 3rd year is going to be an option. And, now we're able to see what he's able to do in the postseason when he's the guy. A lot of people were looking at his performances in Dallas, and they were saying, Luka was the guy there, and he did everything off of what Luka, or the attention that Luka was able to attract. But now we're seeing he was able to be the engine of a team that was struggling. I mean, if you look at our performance for the entire playoffs, we really didn't have a marquee game. I think there was one game where we were able to shoot 41% from 3 and, be a little bit efficient with our scoring in that game. But outside of that, for the most part, we struggled offensively. So for him to have us pretty much in contention for the majority of the games we played out there, it really just shows how special of a talent he is, and that it reinforces what the front office did when they decided to give him that type of contract. And you mentioned him being underpaid. I think, what is he, like the 15th or the 16th highest paid point guard in the league, and he's giving out performances that you would expect from a top 5 point guard in the league. So the value there is tremendous, and we just have to now make the right moves to add some more pieces around him.
I had my questions as far as him being the first option, one guy, like the 1A guy. But he proved to us, he showed us he could do it. And I think moving forward, like, we have our guy now. We have our guy. I'm not sure if the front office is going to be willing to move on from Julius Randle the way us fans want to, but we have our guy now, so we know who to build around. We know, we got our point guard. So I haven't been able to say that shit damn near my entire life. So
Thanks.
It feels good. It feels good.
Yes, sir. Definitely feel better about where we've been, where we are compared to other postseasons. I think the last year we had a tough season. So that postseason was a little bit, what are we going to do? Who are we going to bring in to kind of elevate this squad? And we answered that with Brunson. 2 years before that, we entered the offseason thinking that Julius Randle was not necessarily built for the playoffs, and we were kind of scrambling to see who we could bring in to help him. We ended up bringing in guys like Fournier, Kemba Walker, and that kind of fell flat on his face. So at least in this postseason, we have a guy in Brunson that we're like, all right, we know for sure he can perform in the playoffs, and now it's just what are we going to do to add more pieces that can, mesh with his game.
But the good thing about Brunson, he's not one of those guys where it's like, well, can this guy play with him? Can this guy play with him? He needs the ball. Brunson, he pretty much adapts to whatever offense. Like, whatever we need, if we need him to get assists, he can get assists. If we need him to take over and score, he can take over and score. You know what I'm saying? So it's an easy fit for a guy like that. You can pretty much bring in anybody. He's a good leader. He's not really someone like, who's going to, be a bad influence on young guys. He's just going to go about his business the correct way. I think having his dad there helps too.
Yep.
And, I think it's all positives with him. There's very little cons when it comes to, Jalen Brunson. Besides his size and his defensive ability. But other than that.
And you made a good point with him being a good locker room presence. We've seen since they brought him in, he's really developed and become the leader of this team. A lot of people expected Julius Randle to continue being the leader, even with Jalen Brunson being brought in. But he's taken over that leadership role, and you like a lot of the things that you're hearing from him in the post-game conferences, and you're seeing some of the guys out there on the court take some of his moves, like that gather that he's able to do and draw a lot of fouls. We've seen Julius Randle kind of work that into his game. Emmanuel Quickley has worked that into his game. So the addition of Jalen Brunson has really affected the Knicks, not only on the court, but also I think off the court as well. So you just got to give a shout out to the front office for that signing. They've done, some bad signings of other guys, but in the draft, they've done a pretty good job, and with the signing of Jalen Brunson, they've definitely done a great job there.
Absolutely.
So we're talking about playoff Brunson, and like we have to discuss how some of the other guys have struggled. So I want to put on a video from Bob Myers where he's kind of talking about what the differences between the regular season and the postseason. So I'll put that up on screen now and play it so you guys can hear exactly what Bob Myers is saying. And also remember, Bob Myers, engineered 4 championship rings with the Golden State Warriors. So I think he knows a pretty decent amount of what it takes to win in the postseason.
Like the regular season. They are 2 completely different sports. The way it's officiated, the way that he's playing 42 minutes in the playoffs. I don't know what he averaged in the regular season when he was playing. So your bench is completely different in the regular season versus the playoffs.
And you can prepare differently. You can prepare differently.
Absolutely.
You have more time.
And you do prepare differently.
Yeah.
Not only can you do. And you better believe Paul, listening to Doc as his coach, in a regular season back-to-back game, he's going in the locker room. He's like, all right, who am I got? In the playoffs, he knows exactly what he's doing.
Right.
And by the way, in the playoffs, his first move is gone. It's like a baseball player that they say, well, here's our scouting report. He cannot hit a curveball away. He's getting a curveball away every single pitch. So if they say, Paul, take away his right hand drive, and the pick and roll, we're going to blitz, whatever they know he does well is gone. So that's where you need to check as many boxes as you can. Even shooters. We played some great shooters in the playoffs and have neutralized them. Because if that's all you can do is shoot the 3, then you're not necessarily the weapon that we sometimes make you out to be in the regular season. That 2 feet of space you had in the regular season is 2 inches. And you watch how many players cannot make a shot in the playoffs and shoot 42% in the regular season. It's not the same thing. So why does that matter? The more dimensions you have to your game, the harder you are to take away. Shoot the 3, get fouled, get to the free throw line, drive to the basket. Well, how am I going to go, Paul? What should I have done against Paul Pierce? I'll let him shoot 3. No. Let him go to the rim. No. Foul him. No. Keep him off the free throw. There's too many things he does. Left, right, whatever. Oh, and by the way, let's pick on him defensively. No. That's what makes a Hall of Fame player. So you want as many of those guys as you can. So we can't get too caught up in let's have 4 shooters. Okay, well, what if those guys can't do anything else, can't guard their position? So I think it's more than sometimes we make it out to be. And the people here, I assume, are basketball fans. You watch the playoffs, you'll know who can play basketball. That's when you evaluate players.
Healthy enough. If you're out there on the court, you look at Julius Randle. If he's out there on the court, I'm assuming he's healthy enough to contribute and to ball out. So when I heard that clip from Bob Myers, the first person that jumped into my head was Julius Randle, because we saw 2 seasons ago the Hawks were able to game plan and get him out of that series and make him uncomfortable. And we also saw in this playoffs, teams were able to game plan against him and put up guys that can take away what he does best. He struggled against Bam Adebayo. He struggled against Evan Mobley. And there really wasn't anything else that he can do to try and get into the swing of things. So when you heard some of those things from Bob Myers and you saw Julius Randle's performance, do you think he's someone that the Knicks should continue to try and keep around and see if we can build with, or do you think it's time for us to move on from Julius Randle and see if we can bring somebody else in to pair with Jalen Brunson?
It's hard with a guy like Julius because, he's so off and on. He's up and down. To me, I think with the Knicks, he reached his ceiling. He made All-NBA twice. I can't really see it getting better than what it is. To me, he's maybe a third or fourth option on the championship team. He was for the majority of the season, he's our number one option. So, I don't think he's the guy for us moving forward, like to win a championship or to build around. I think his time has been up in New York. I wanted him traded a while ago. You
and me both, bro. But when I say it, I'm a hater, so I'm glad you're the one saying it.
I wanted him traded a while ago, but it's like, to everybody else, it's like, oh, why you Knicks fans always killing Julius Randle? He's not that bad of a player. But then you watch him play, and you see the things that makes us go crazy. Like, he's a ball stopper. Like the offense moves way better when he's not on the court. It's more fluid. Everyone's getting opportunities. You see Obi being able to play more free, get out in the open court. He's knocking down threes. Brunson as the number one guy, like, we know who the ball is going to go to. So if he can't, if he can't do what he does, then RJ, he has a better shot. Or to me, it just seems like for you to be a ball stopper, you have to be a lot better than what you are. Like, I remember when Melo was with us. Melo was a ball stopper. Well, Melo was a certified bucket.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
and he stepped up in the postseason.
Yeah, Randle. He can get a bucket anywhere on the court at any time. Like you wasn't gonna stop Melo. It's just you just had to hope that Melo's gonna have an off night. With a guy like Randle, it's not hard to stop him. Like, he's going left, or if he goes right, he's gonna spin back left. He makes the game way more difficult for himself than it needs to be. He's gonna always take tough shots for no reason, fadeaways and step back threes with two guys on him. I don't know. I'm just not a big Randle guy. Like, I think it's time to move on. But the problem with Randle is that, despite how much we value him, he doesn't really have that, that wide of a trade market. So it's like, it's almost, shit, do we give him up for nothing, or do we just keep him because, we can't really get nothing back either? Like, I would probably say equal value. Like, whatever we get back from Randle is probably going to be less than what he is. But I'm willing to take that. So we can build around Brunson and move forward,
I think one issue a lot of people have with Julius Randle is his lack of effort and the energy, or lack thereof, you see out there on the court. It's like, bro, we're in the playoffs. How are you not up in this situation? Why are you not getting back over a bad turnover you created? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Why are you not playing defense and allowing guys to get into the lane easily? This is when you're supposed to step your game up. You're in the gym every night working on your game for moments like this. And this is when you're going to, not give your all, or at least look like you're not giving your all out there on the court. Like I said earlier, if you're not healthy, let the coaching staff know so that they can put a guy like Obi in who can give us a little bit more energy. Obi does have his defensive issues and things like that, but at least he's a high energy guy. He'll get up and down the court, and he'll get us into transition and things like that to get some easy buckets. But look at Julius Randle and what he did in the regular season and compared to the postseason. It's a massive drop off. He averaged 22.3 points in the regular season, only 17.1 in the postseason. 10 rebounds in the regular season, 9.4 in the postseason. I won't give him any slack for that. That's no big deal. Assists per game, 4.6 to 3.7. But the biggest issue is that he dropped to 3.7 assists, but he averaged 3.9 turnovers per game. So he was averaging more turnovers than he was assists. And, he's viewed as an engine on this offense. So if you're that inefficient and you're coughing the ball up, come on, bro. This is when you're supposed to step your game up. And if you look at the outlook of the playoffs right now, the Knicks had a perfect chance to elevate and get to potentially the conference finals and potentially the finals.
Shit, we swept Boston during the regular season. Regular season, but we matched up well with Boston. You know what I'm saying? So I felt like, this was our opportunity. Like, if we wasn't going to have one, this was the year. We should have got past Miami, but, Gabe Vincent and Max Struess turned into the Splash Bros. Turned into Steph Curry and
Clay.
It's ridiculous. And Kyle Lowry turned into Toronto Kyle Lowry. Like, Duncan Robinson hasn't played all year. He comes in, looks like Ray Allen. And we kind of held Jimmy in check, too. That's why I was really upset. But
yeah, Grimes did a good job guarding Butler.
Yeah, we got nothing from Julius Randle at all. And even with the injury, like, I don't want to. I guess if you want to, you can give him the benefit of the doubt. But it's been like this though. Like, even since the Atlanta Hawks series, it's like a clear drop off in the playoffs. I don't know if the moment is too big, or it's the fact that teams key in on him. But this time around, he had more help with Brunson. More experience from RJ. Quickley's developed a lot since then. It just seemed like whenever his shot wasn't falling, he was completely disengaged with the game. Like,
checked out.
If my shot's not falling, I'm moping around the court. I'm mad. I'm not playing defense. I'm just completely ineffective. Like, I'm not giving my team anything at all. But once my shots start falling, it's like, oh yeah, now I'm playing defense. I'm assisting, and I don't really want a guy like that on my team. I want somebody that's gonna play hard all the time. Like, we from New York. We know what kind of players New York respect. Guys are just gonna play hard, like Josh Hart.
Yep, I was going to mention him too. We brought in Josh Hart. We see how he plays out there on the court, and you compare that to Julius Randle, and it's night and day.
Yeah, exactly. You know what you're gonna get from Josh Hart. Shot falling or not, he's gonna play hard regardless of anything. He's gonna give his all. So I respect that. Like, when we traded for Josh Hart, gave him Cam Reddish. Everyone was like, "What are you guys doing? Cam Reddish is so talented." Tibbs got him riding.
That was me. I was one of them.
that was his. See, why is Cam Reddish on the bench? Every time he came in the game, he showed flashes and that, which is true. Cam Reddish is one of the most talented players in the league. For whatever reason, he hasn't panned out. But I knew once we traded for a guy like Josh Hart, I was like, oh, he's gonna come in and give us that ruggedness. That junkyard dog mentality. And he played with Brunson at Nova, so they got that chemistry, you know what I'm saying? So he might not score 25, 30 points, but we're going to get 5 loose ball dives, like, he's going to foul you hard. He's going to hit a 3 here and there. He's going to run the floor, and he's going to defend. So
defend, yep.
Yeah, he's going to do everything. It's like any given night, he's a triple-double threat, so.
Yeah, give a shout out to chat real quick. I see we got my guy George into the next verse in the chat. Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate it. Delano Still also in chat. Thank you for tuning in. Let's see what we got going on. 90s Nick says, "What's up, my fellas? Salute. Appreciate you." Also, if you haven't liked the live stream yet, now would be a great time to do so. Smash that like button and also subscribe. That way you're notified whenever we do go live with a new live stream. Miguel P says, "I hear you, but his energy just wasn't there." Talking about Randle. JJ says, "Find a long wing and upgrade center spot. Find a center that can score." We'll talk about Mitch as well. Let's see what we got going. Knicks are nice. Says Cat and Randle will be the front court. I don't like that pairing. 2 guys that I don't think show up in the playoffs.
That's disgusting. I'm sorry.
I mean, what's really disgusting is Randle's efficiency in the playoffs. I mean, look, 34% from the field, 28% from the 3-point line. And, 77% from the charity stripe, which matches what he was shooting in the regular season. But you can't give no energy out there defensively and then put these type of numbers up on offense. And for me, it was crazy because he was playing with this lack of energy, lack of effort, and Tibbs wasn't making any adjustments for the most part. And I'm like, bro, I know he's the best player. I know you don't want to lose the star player on the team or one of the star players on the team, but you got to do something. You know what I mean? You can't allow him to continue to act like that out there on the court and put that on film for other players to look at and say, all right, so are we not going to be held to the same standard?
Yeah, I mean, that's Tibbs' guy. I think when Cam Reddish left, he spoke about, the favoritism.
Mm-hmm.
In New York, and that's clear, that's evident. And this guy's not giving you anything, no energy, no effort. He's not making any shots. He's not moving the ball. He's almost unplayable. At this point, he's almost unplayable. Team look a lot better without him. And when he's out there, there's no adjustments. There's just like, we're gonna keep marching you out there. You know what I'm saying? Like you're my guy. So
it is what it is. Gonna go down.
It
with
is what it is. And it made me sick. It made me sick to see.
And you mentioned, potentially trading him, but it doesn't seem like there's much of a market for him. We got this. This is an excerpt from a conversation between Stephon Bondi, Scotto, and Ian Begley. So Bondi says, I think that they're going to have trouble finding value for him, the way that they value him. With that being said, there are clear issues with his attitude and the way that he handles criticism and how he's looked in the locker room, I think. Scotto says, to me, I think it's going to be tough for them to find the value, the way they value him. And Begley finishes it off, says, I'm with both of you guys on the chances of a trade happening. I think it's only going to happen if he's a part of a package when you're bringing in a top player that's head and shoulders above Julius Randle. So if we do look to move him this offseason, it doesn't seem like there'll be much of a market for him. We'll have to hope that either he's included in a trade for a bigger deal or a disgruntled superstar that might find themselves available, or we'll have to sell low, like you mentioned a little while ago. And, I don't know if necessarily we're in the right spot right now to sell low on a Julius Randle. I think this team has another 2 or 3 years within this window in order to make a deep push. So I might be open to bringing him back and seeing if he can rehab, because I don't want to give up a guy that's, been all NBA and get, some salary cap relief for the most part. Because it's not like he's on a bad contract. He's on a reasonable contract. He was able to perform in the regular season. And maybe if you bring in some more guys around him and Brunson, maybe you could see him start to play a little bit better. But I just don't want to sell low and get fleeced like we've seen some of these other teams get fleeced in deals for big names.
Why is it that, we value him so much, but the league, really has no value on him, like regardless of his accolades, his all NBA, all-star game accolades, like no one seems to want to give up anything to bring Julius Randle in the building. Why is that?
Because he can't perform in the playoffs. If you look at contending teams that might do a deal to bring in a Julius Randle, they want somebody that can step up in the playoffs and give you a big play down the stretch, knock down a tough shot, step up in those moments. And here with the Knicks, you haven't seen Julius Randle really do that. So if a contending team is going to try and make a deal for him, they're not going to want to risk trading or giving up the assets that it'll take to bring in a Julius Randle. And if you're a rebuilding team, at that point, it's your salary dump, and you're not giving up anything of value because you still want to retain your picks. You want to retain some of your young guys to continue to rebuild and just, wait out Julius Randle's contract or maybe flip him again down the road. So I think right now we are in a tough spot when it comes to what we should do with Julius Randle. And that's why I think, for the most part, unless something magical happens this offseason, the Knicks might be in the best position to just, keep him and see if, come next trade deadline, maybe if there's an injury, if there's a team that feels like Julius Randle could get them over that hump, maybe they overextend and give us a pretty good deal in order to acquire him. That's the only thing I'm hoping for.
Yeah. I mean, our team is young, I feel like we overperformed this year. We made a run in the playoffs, but it's not one of those things where I feel like, all right, we got a bunch of veteran guys that we have to win now. You know what I'm saying? So even if we did sell low and we got a young prospect, like a young wing, someone that's a 3-and-D that can develop in our system, something like that, like I wouldn't be mad with that, because I just don't. How far are we really going to get with Julius Randle as?
It's like
to me, Jalen Brunson is the guy, but to Julius Randle, Julius Randle is the guy. So is he going to be able to take that step back, next year and, and be willing to, defer to Jalen Brunson, or is he still going to, as soon as he get the ball, he's taking 14 jab steps, or taking a crazy step back shot for whatever reason? Like, I don't know. I'm just kind of, I don't know.
Kind of in no man land with him at this point.
Say it again?
So we're kind of in no man land with him.
Yeah. So,
and I hear you. I'd be open to trading for a young wing if they can come in and be a 3-and-D. It's just that if you look at the NBA landscape, it's hard to find a spot for Julius Randle around the league, and it's even harder to find a spot with a team that kind of matches us in terms of us us getting back a player that we think we could build with, and them being okay with having Julius Randle, sulking on their bench.
Would you be interested in somebody like PJ Washington
from Charlotte? PJ, he's an interesting player. He can knock down the three, decent enough defensively. The thing is, I don't know if I trade Julius Randle just for PJ Washington.
Up. Yeah, a couple pieces.
We would need additional pieces. I want some picks as well because, like I said, Julius Randle's a solid player in the regular season. It's just the postseason where you see him struggle. I mean, 2 of the last 3 seasons, he's been phenomenal. He's been All NBA. He's been able to kind of transform his game somewhat. And I feel like if he maybe is in the right spot where, like you said, could be the 3rd or the 4th option, then, he could excel. So that's why, if we're able to make some splashes this offseason, move him down the pecking order, I'd be open to seeing how it works before I, sell low on Julius Randle and really not get good value for him. I feel like he's still a decent asset.
He doesn't really strike me as a guy. Like, since he's been in New York, he's been an All-NBA player twice. He's made the All-Star game. He kind of made New York Knicks basketball a little more relevant than it's been the last few years. He doesn't strike me as a guy that's going to just want to take a step back. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's going to, we're bringing in so-and-so? Okay, well, it's his team now, Like, for his attitude, his demeanor, he doesn't really strike me as the type of person that's going to be willing to, do whatever the team needs for us to win. And maybe, I don't know, maybe that's just what it seems like. Maybe he's a good teammate, I don't know, but to see him mope around when the shot's not falling, and see him be, ineffective and walk off the court mad after a win because he didn't.
That's crazy.
Get the shots that he wanted. Like, I don't know if he's the kind of guy for that, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah, we definitely are in a tough spot, but in terms of the overall health of the franchise, we do have some solid pieces. If we want to either pair Julius Randle and Brunson with another key guy, or if we want to move Julius Randle and bring in someone else. So just to put some of the pieces we have on this team on screen, you can see veterans. We've got Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson, Evan Fournier, Hart as vets that we can include in deals. We got prospects, RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickley, Grimes, Toppin, Deuce, Sims. Those are all young players that we can put in a deal in order to get better. And we also have a plethora of draft picks. In 2024, we've got 4 first-round picks, 3 second-round picks. In 2025, we've got 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks. And then we've got 1 first-round pick in 26, 1 first-round pick in 27, and then 1 second-round pick in 27 as well. So this is a team that is, I think, in a healthy spot in terms of roster construction. And, I know you say this team, we don't have we don't rely too much on some aging vets, but you look at the contracts that Brunson has, and even Julius Randle, if we're going to continue to build around him, both of those guys in 2 years, they're going to be able to opt out of their deals and try to re-up. So if they re-up, you're looking at close to max money for Brunson, I would assume. And Julius Randle, I think he's going to want a big payday as well. So that's why I look at these next 2 years as this front office should be somewhat aggressive in order to continue to add talent, because we don't know if we'll have as much flexibility 2-3 years down the road when we have to renew contracts with Brunson and potentially Julius Randle. Also, you got to factor in extensions to Emmanuel Quickley. We might have to extend Obi Toppin if we don't deal him in a trade. Josh Hart, he's a guy that we're going to extend an offer to this offseason, and he wants a decent amount of money as well. So that's why I look at these next 2 years as extremely important for this front office, because they have to make a decision. Are they going to try and be, aggressive and try to bring as much talent in as possible and try to be as good as we can while we have those guys on real, decent deals long term, for the next 2 years? Or are we going to continue to, be cautious in our approach? Because for the most part in the trade market, this front office has been pretty cautious. They didn't pull a trigger on the Spider deal. Their only big trade, outside of Josh Hart, is probably bringing in Cam Reddish, and they ended up flipping him for Josh Hart. So in the trade market, they haven't been as aggressive as some fans would have liked. But I think now is the time where they really have to start looking at it and say, all right, maybe this is the time we need to pounce.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think the way to build moving forward is to be around Brunson. As long as we keep Brunson, if he continues to play at this level, I think RJ will continue to take steps each year. Especially if we get rid of Randle, it's kind of going to like force RJ to take that next step. You know, he's going to have to be more efficient. He's going to have to, you know, take better shots and, you know, be that guy that we rely on. And I feel like he possibly could take that step, you know, with his back against the wall. Like, listen, we paid you this money. We kept you. We didn't deal you. Now there's nobody in your way, you know. It's Brunson, and then it's you, and then unless we get another star, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm kind of curious to see what RJ does. I think he's a big part in all this too.
Yeah, he's a big piece. He could either step up next season or he could be traded this offseason. Remains to be seen. I mean,
you want to get rid of RJ?
I'm open to getting rid of RJ. I mean, heading into this season, I was adamant about RJ being a player that could reach his ceiling and be one of the, you know, top players at his position. But this season, we've seen him struggle at times defensively. Sometimes the effort wasn't there on defense, similar to what we've seen at times with Julius Randle. I do like the fact that he was able to, you know, step up his game in the playoffs and have, you know, pretty much help us in that Cavs season advance. I mean, that Cavs series advance. So I'm open to continuing to develop RJ and keep him on the squad. But if a deal comes up and we can bring in a guy that's, you know, top 15, top 20 in the league, then I'm for it. You know, include RJ in the deal, include another young player. Just don't go crazy and do what Minnesota did and get fleeced in that Robert Gobert trade. But I'm open to trading RJ Barrett.
Yeah. I guess for the right guy, right?
Mm-hmm. And nobody's untouchable other than Brunson on this squad.
For the right guy and not 7 first-round picks.
We're not getting 7 first-round picks for RJ.
No. RJ plus 6 first-round picks for a guy like that.
Yeah, no, that was ridiculous. That was nutty. I don't know what those guys were thinking they were gonna get us for that.
That's too much, man.
Way too much.
Yeah.
I mean, people around the league, though, they say that the Knicks do have the pieces to pounce if another key player became available. This is from Bobby Marks. It says, outside of Oklahoma City, maybe Utah, I think they're in the top 5 of competitive packages for the next disgruntled all-star. For a big market team, the Knicks are well positioned even with this new CBA. So, you know, you're looking at what other execs might think about our roster. I think we do have some key young guys. Emmanuel Quickley this season, he stepped it up, especially late. To start the season, it was a little bit shaky for him, but he really came on strong late. He struggled in the playoffs, which is something that is a little bit concerning. We'll talk about that some more. But, I mean, if other teams are looking at it, at our roster, and they're saying, you know, we want a young player that has the potential to be more than what they are right now. Emmanuel Quickley is one of them. Quentin Grimes is one of them, especially Obi Toppin. We really haven't given that guy much of a chance since we drafted him. It seems like the front office expected to draft him and then move on from Julius Randle, but then Julius Randle went the All-NBA route and completely threw their plans out the window. So it remains to be seen what the goal is for this squad and Obi Toppin, but he may be moved as well this offseason.
Yeah, I mean, with Randall sitting in the way, you know, it's kind of hard to play Obi. He's kind of a undersized 4-man. He's not the best defender, but you know, Tibbs is Tibbs, and Tibbs kind of sticks to what he knows. You know, he doesn't really make too many adjustments, and you know, if you're not playing too much now, I can't imagine you playing too much in the future with a guy like Tibbs, especially with one of his guys in front of you. So there's going to have to be some type of move. Something's going to have to be done. Something's got to give, because I do think Obi should play more. You know, I do think he should play more. You know, we've seen a development in the shot. Each year he's been getting better. Whenever he does get the opportunity to play, he shows out, you know. But with the young guys, to me, I'm willing to really move on from anybody. Maybe except Quentin Grimes. He's like the prototypical NBA 2 guard now. You know, he has decent size. He's a really good shooter. He's a good defender. You know, a guy like that I would want to keep on my roster. But like Quickley, if we can flip Quickley into something, you know, a disgruntled star, like you said, or another young piece, like I'm not against it. So I do like Quickley though, but you know, after seeing what he did in the playoffs, it's like if you want him, you can have him.
For the right price. I hear you.
If you want him, you can. Yeah.
I hear you on wanting Grimes. He is a solid defender. He can knock down the three, and we've seen instances where he's able to do a little bit more out there on the court, whether that be attacking the basket, finding some nice finding some nice avenues for passes and things like that. So Grimes, I do understand you not being gung-ho about including him in a deal, but I trade Quentin Grimes if I'm bringing in a star player. Some injury concerns with him and things like that. There are some limitations, I think, in his game. I think, other people view him as someone that could be maybe, a little bit better than just an average starter, but I view him as a solid defender and someone that can be an average starter. So in that case, I'd move him in a deal.
No, he's not going to be like the deal breaker. Like, no, absolutely
not like the Donovan Mitchell trade, right? Because I heard he was the deal breaker.
Absolutely, he's definitely not going to be a deal breaker. But if I can hold off for him, I will. But he's not going to be the guy to say no, deal's off the table. I'm not dealing with Quentin Grimes if we can get a Jalen Brown or something like that.
Bringing one of those guys.
Not at all. Yeah.
I hear you. And we also have this. This is from New York Basketball. It says on a possible Emmanuel Quickley extension / trade. Michael Scotto says, in talking with the people around the league, at worst, his floor would be 4 years, $80 million. To make sense for Quickley, is it in the $100 million range? Ian Bakley also says, I think any team that calls on a significant trade is going to be asking about Quickley. So it seems like people around the league that are in the know when it comes to the New York Knicks expect Emmanuel Quickley to either be given a sizable extension or be included in a deal if the Knicks decide to make a splash this offseason. So they're in agreement, I think, with the both of us in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on the money. With the new CBA going up, it just depends on the money. I'm not really trying to overpay for a guy like Quickley.
Yeah, we'll talk about his contract extension a little bit more in depth, but I also have this quote from Jonathan Macri of Knicks Film School. It says, my bold prediction, Quickley or RJ, one of those two guys on a different team. I think there'll be a star-ish player on the roster alongside Brunson and Randle. One of RJ or Quick won't be here. There's a reason I said this. So it looks like Macri is setting the breadcrumbs for a potential big splash to be made either this offseason or sometime next season. If you had to trade one of the two, who would it be? Who would you decide to keep in that situation?
Definitely Quickley, but I think I'll trade Quickley, I should say. It kind of depends on, the person that we're trying to get in, another team. It really depends. Because if it's somebody that plays the same position as RJ, it might be better to trade RJ and just, replace him with the new guy. But between those two guys, I'll definitely give up Quickley. I feel like RJ, he's so young, and I feel like his ceiling is really, really high. He just has to really, get there. Like, we don't see it just yet because he's so young and he's making slow developments. And then you got a guy like Randle on your team. It's kind of hard to, like we've seen it with a guy like Brandon Ingram. It's hard to really develop when you don't have the ball in your hand when he's on the Lakers. You got somebody that needs the ball in their hands. It's hard to really develop. But when you get a chance to get the ball in your hands and you can make those mistakes and, it's trial and error and you can learn from your mistakes. And, and you got that pressure of being the guy. Guys like that step up to the plate. So I want to keep RJ, but he has to show me something, especially with that shot, man. It's like, I don't know what's going on with that 3-point shot. It's like it was there for a second.
It was there only that bubble season when there was 2,000 people in the stands.
It was there, and then ever since then, you know what it is about RJ? RJ will miss 9 threes throughout the game and then hit the game-tying 3 in the fourth quarter. Yeah. Like, he's that type of guy, so I don't know.
With me, heading into the postseason, it would have been, I'd rather keep Quickley. No discussion on that one. But to see him struggle in the postseason and to see RJ Barrett, really step up and have some solid performances, that makes me start to second guess it a little bit, because Emmanuel Quickley can do pretty much everything for you out there. He's like a Swiss Army knife. He can score. He can defend. He can, make plays. He can grab rebounds. So he's like your jack of all trade. You're just hoping that he can master one. With RJ Barrett, it's just so inconsistent with his performances. Like, he can have a stretch of games where he's averaging 25, 26 points, and then you'll have a stretch of games where he's, averaging 25, 30% from the field, and it's just maddening. So, you don't want to necessarily pull the plug on the RJ Barrett experiment too quickly. Like you said, he's young, and you don't want to, ship him out, and then a year or two later down the road, he really shows us what a lot of us expected he could become. But I think with Emmanuel Quickley, if you keep him and trade RJ would probably, fill out a trade a little bit more. You wouldn't have to include as many pieces if you ship out a guy like Emmanuel Quickley. So if you trade RJ, maybe you hope to, retain more of your young core. So, with all those variables, with me, I'd probably keep Emmanuel Quickley, especially if he can continue to perform like we saw towards the end of the regular season, because he was going crazy towards the end of the regular season. That game against the Celtics single-handedly helped win us that game. And, he can step up when Jalen Brunson, at times has injuries. He can step up and man that guard spot. And he can also play off guard of a guy like, Jalen Brunson and be a key factor. So with those put together, I think Quickley is probably the one that I keep, and I'd put RJ Barrett in the deal.
I'm really high on big wings. I just feel like the way the league is right now, to have big wings, those are invaluable. So that's one of the reasons I would probably go RJ too. But I mean, I understand everything you said about Quickley though. Like, it seemed to me throughout the season he was ready, to take that next step, and especially at the beginning of the year, he's looked like the sixth man of the year too. So, but I don't know. I just think RJ is going to be better in the future.
You think he has a higher ceiling than Quick?
Yeah, I think Quickley might be better for the team now, but I think RJ will be better in the future. And to me, it's kind of hard to really judge RJ with Julius Randle there and kind of playing in a similar fashion. Both left-handed, both kind of need the ball to score. So for me, it's hard to really judge RJ to see what he's really going to be with Randle right there. But I guess, we'll see in the near future what happens.
That's a good point you pointed out there, the fact that we really don't get to see RJ Barrett in his, I guess, natural environment, seeing that he has two guys that have highest usage rates than him in Brunson and in Julius Randle. So that's definitely something that we should consider when figuring out who should be moved in a upcoming deal. Also, we got a super chat from Soul Train 68. Thank you for this contribution. It says, RJ Barrett will get you Zion. Quick will get you ? I don't know if I want RJ Barrett to give me Zion, because Zion can't stay on the court. What's going on with that guy?
I don't think he's motivated. I don't think he wants to be down there.
Could be that. Also, he got the bag already, so he really doesn't have to audition for it anymore.
I don't think he wants to be down there. Remember, I think when he got drafted, his stepdad said something about the city of New Orleans or something like that. So I don't think RJ wants to be down there. I think in New York, he'll be eaten alive if he does what he does. Yeah, he'll be eaten alive. But RJ could possibly get a Zion. That's his best friend, right? They're best friends. They were roommates and everything at Duke. Right?
I don't know if they're besties, but they're definitely close.
Yeah, so not gonna lie, man. I like Zion. I would want Zion. I don't know about you.
It's too risky, man. The health concerns. I mean, if we are able to get Zion and he's able to stay healthy for a playoff run and get us a championship, then hey, you'll live with the move. Who cares what comes with the rest of that contract in his situation? Because I've never seen a championship for the Knicks in my life. So to see that, I'd be willing to take that risk and be in purgatory for the next 3-4 years of that contract. But still, that's a big risk to take, man, because you never know. Look at this season. The Pelicans were in a good spot to make a little bit of a postseason run, and he didn't even get on the court. So to me, I'd be too concerned about the health concerns when it comes to Zion.
I understand, but when that dude is healthy, he's
different.
He's different. He's 30 and 10.
Mm-hmm.
He don't need no plays ran for him. He's just gonna get it off the board. He's gonna go. Like, he's a monster. He's a different kind of player. Like, he's like, to me, when he's healthy, he's generational. But he has to lose some weight. He has to stay in shape. Get him to New York. Get him in there with Chris Quickley. You know what I'm saying? Have Melo throw him some moves and whatnot.
I can't argue with the talent, man, but it's just the health concerns with him.
Yeah, I understand. Shit, to even have a guy like Zion is crazy, but I understand completely because we're going to be even more mad at him when he's on the sideline every fucking day, like Ben Simmons.
I feel bad for teams that got Ben Simmons on their squad, man. That guy, he doesn't love the game. I mean, you hear some of these players, I believe it was DeMar DeRozan talking about how some of these guys don't really love the game. I think Ben Simmons falls into that camp because I don't know what's going on with him. I know it says he has some injuries and things like that, but he just doesn't seem like this is, what he wants to do. He'd rather be off the court doing what he does off the court as opposed to doing what has made him famous, which is balling out.
Yeah, it seems like he more so likes the perks of the game
as opposed to playing.
So, but I to me, I'm not the type of person. I don't really like to question people's love for the game, but I think the way he goes about his business with this smug look on his face, I think it rubs people the wrong way. But I don't know. His love for the game, I really don't know, because I feel like if he didn't love the game, I don't know. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to put it in a way to, not really discredit his love for the game, but it's hard to really defend somebody like Ben. It's hard to. Like,
when they move it the way they move, especially after they sign that massive contract, it seems like they set for life. They don't got to work for it anymore.
Yeah. I think it's more mental with him than anything. Like, I think that's his biggest hurdle, getting back to himself and whatnot. But he was always that dude, coming up. He was always that dude. Australia, high school, in college, he was that dude. For him to come to the league and do this is kind of weird to me. Like, I don't know, did he play ball just to get rich or, and then just like, all right, I'm good now. Well, I don't know.
It's crazy.
People like to shit on somebody like Ben Simmons, but watching Ben Simmons go to the Warriors, they replaced Draymond for Ben Simmons. Now he healthy every game. And everybody like, I don't know, they got Ben Simmons. It's not fair. They're building that. But, you took a crap on Ben Simmons the last 4 years. Now when it's, people.
Now when he's in a good spot.
Yeah, people think about things like that. So, but.
I hear you. So I closed the poll. Who would you keep, RJ or Quickley? 60% of you say you'd keep RJ Barrett and trade Quick. And then 37% say they would keep Quick and trade RJ Barrett. All right, let's see what we got going on in chat. Jesco says Villanova boys on top. They're doing a little bit on social media too. I wonder if we can bring in a guy like Bridges. I know the Nets aren't going to be thrilled making a deal with their crosstown rivals, but hey, if we can make a decent trade package and bring him in, that would, be that big-bodied wing you were discussing. And he was going off once he got to the Nets. Once he was able to get his own team and show that he can kill or cook with the ball in his hands, I think it definitely raised a lot of eyes around the league, because I wasn't expecting him to be able to go off like that. Playing behind Devin Booker and Chris Paul in terms of the food chain. For him to see what he's able to do now once he's given that opportunity.
Right. I would love to get somebody like Bridges, but the Nets say he's untouchable, so they're not giving him up. But I think they're trying to bring somebody to Brooklyn to play with him, actually. So I'm watching what's going on with the Nets in Portland, though. I'm watching what's going on with them. Dame said Bridges was his favorite small forward in the league. You see Dame going to Brooklyn Nets games and them two hanging out and partying together. So, and Portland, they got that third pick too in the trade. So, I want to see what happens with that.
Crazy how they're gonna move the third pick and continue to build around Dame. That's kind of crazy, because you don't have the layout right now for a championship contender team. So you trading that third overall pick is not gonna catapult you above some of those other teams in the Western Conference. So for me, it would be better to reset move off of Dame, get some more assets alongside that third overall pick,
Right.
and then continue to build that way. Already got Anthony Simons. You've got Sharp. I don't know if you're going to retain Cam, but you got Cam. You also got Kevin Knox. So you got a bunch of young players out there that you can give minutes to alongside the third pick and whatever you get in a trade for Dame Lillard. But they're going the opposite route, and they're going to continue to build around Lillard. So God bless them. Whatever.
I don't know who's in that front office, but he must have ultimate job security because these moves they've been making, like, bro, just trade Dame. Like, what y'all doing? Trade him. Build around that third pick. You got Shaedon Sharp. You can go draft Scoot Henderson if you want another point guard. You still got Anthony Simons. Like, what are y'all doing? I really don't understand what's going on out there in Portland. I think Dame's run in Portland, he had a great run. He was as loyal to them as he possibly could be. Like, I understand not wanting the ring chase, but come on, like, do him a favor.
Mm-hmm.
Like, save him from himself, because Portland's not doing anything. Like, then next thing you know, we're going to be saying his career was wasted in Portland. He's a really talented player, but never won anything. So, I don't know.
Yeah, tough spot for them to be in, but they keep making all the wrong decisions.
Yeah, free Dame. Dame don't really want to be free, but they gave Dame that bag. He's like, man, I'm staying right here.
Facts. I mean, Bradley Beal did the same thing. He over there crying too.
Man, Brad Bill got that bag, and he looked horrible. That's cool. That's Kuzma and Kristap's team. I don't know what's up with Brad Bill.
We got a comment from JJ. Says, Keith, what do you think of trying to sign Nas Reid? He's a bucket that can stretch the floor and could play the 5 or the 4. I think if we didn't have iHeart, or if we move iHeart in a trade to bring in another piece, we could also look at Nas Reid as someone that can come in. Who did he cook? I think he was cooking the Warriors, where he kind of went off in the first half. Yeah, so he's definitely someone that we could bring in. He's a versatile big that can score in a multitude of ways. Gives you decent enough, rim protection for the most part. And I think he'd be a solid piece.
Yeah, he's from Jersey too. I think Nas is a dog. Yeah. I think he's the truth. So it's just that he's just stuck behind Cat and Rudy Gobert. But whenever he has a chance to go out there, he shows out. So I would love to have somebody like Nas Reid.
Yeah, I think he's a free agent now too. So he's someone that we can go and pick
really
up.
Has no flaws in his game offensively at all.
Could do a little bit of everything.
Yeah, he's really good.
Only thing is we got iHeart, so and you can't even bring him in to be the backup 4 because we got Obi, and I think he'd be better at the 5. He could be a stretch 5, help free up the court with the spacing and things like that for guys like Brunson, RJ, Randle to actually operate a little bit more, because we've got Mitch for the most part parked in the paint, and it makes life a little bit more difficult. It's crazy how Brunson is still able to eat with Mitch parked in the paint, but we've seen RJ and Julius Randle kind of struggle.
Butterfingers, Mitch.
Mitch is my guy, man. Put some respect on his name.
He need to wear gloves or something. I don't know.
I need some stick 'em.
Ass is slipping through his fingers. I don't get it. It's like, bro, what? How hard is it to catch a basketball? Every time I'm like, oh, Mitch is up. Mitch is down there for easy layup. Throw a nice no look dime to him. Ball's out of bounds. I'm like, oh. Don't get me wrong, though. He be on them boards, though. He be on them
beast
boards.
At times.
He's a good defender and whatnot, but if he can defend a little better without fouling, and if he can get some type of offensive game, something,
I mean, he tried a little move in that Heat series. It wasn't effective. He tried to lay it with the left, too. I was like, what you doing out there, Mitch?
Because Mitch dominated Mobley and Jared Allen.
Facts.
He dominated both of them. So I respect him. But it's times where it's like, I think his hands are horrible, but I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that we never really look for him. So when the ball does come his way, he's not expecting the ball to come his way. He's already looking up at the rim to get the ball off the rim. So I think that could be part of it too. But like, if somebody put it in your lap, you gotta catch the ball. If you're not gonna catch it, I'm not gonna give it to you. So
You sound like Aaron Rodgers.
No, because I played basketball, and I played point guard. So, if I had a big man that I knew, majority of the time is not going to catch the ball, I would be a little bit less reluctant passing the ball. I would just, I'm just shoot the floater or shoot the layup or something. I take my chances with that because the ball's going to bounce off his chest.
Especially in a contract year, because that turnover ain't going to Mitch, it's going to the point guard.
yeah, exactly. So, I don't know. I like Mitch though. Mitch is good.
Yeah, Mitch is my guy, man. If I wish he would, expand his game offensively a little bit more. But again, like you said, they don't really feature him much because even when Mitch is in the game and they got guys like Hart in there, or even when Nerlens Noel was on the squad, they didn't feature the center much in the offense. Right. Hart only eats when he gets offensive rebounds or that little, 8-foot floater he gets after everybody, gets into the paint and whatnot, and they draw attention away from him. That's the only time you really see him, get any shots up.
Would you be willing to get rid of Mitch for DeAndre Ayton?
Ayton is an enigma, bro, because he can do a lot out there, but it's like when you need him, he's ghost. You need a big game from him, and it's just nothing. And then he's another one, quote unquote, injured. Elimination game. He's sitting there cracking jokes on the bench, like, bro, they about to ship y'all home, and you seem a little too okay with it.
I was talking to a Suns fan. They was like, "Yo, send Mitch over here. You gotta have Ayton. You can take Ayton in a heartbeat. We'll take Mitch. Just let us know."
I mean, especially over there when you already have guys that can score. You've got, Durant, you've got Booker, and things like that. So you really only need someone to play solid defense and grab some rebounds. Right. So in that situation, Mitch is perfect. But Ayton, he should be able to do the same things and do a lot more offensively. And it's just like in some games, you forget he's out there on the court. And they gave him the bag, too. And last offseason, I was open to... Go ahead.
I don't think they wanted to.
No, they only did it so they didn't get nothing. Because I think he was going to end up going to the Pacers, and they had to match that offer sheet.
Right.
They did him dirty, too. They should have let him go to Indiana. Indiana would have had a nice squad, too, because they would have probably flipped Turner, got something for him. They already got Halliburton. They got Duarte. They're probably, by the end of this offseason, going to have Obi, because that's the only team you really hear Obi Toppin linked to. So I like Indiana's young squad. I didn't even mention Mathurin. So Indiana got a nice young squad coming up. All right, so let's talk about a few more things. I don't want to keep you too long. Let's talk about Josh Hart. Now, Josh Hart, he was traded to the squad, and he really helped, inject some new life into this team. A lot of hustle out there. He can knock down some timely shots. I know he was a little hesitant in the playoffs, but during the regular season, he was shooting something like 60-something odd percent from three or whatever the case may be. He can play some solid defense. He's a willing passer. He can help initiate the offense, getting us, pushing the ball up the court in transition and things like that. And they're saying his market could be right around that $18 million a year mark. So I put on screen a couple guys that, have similar contracts. You've got OG Anunoby. He signed a 4-year, $72 million deal, average annual value at $18 million. You've got Derek White. He signed a 4-year, $7 million deal. His average annual value was $17.5 million. And then you got Lou Dort. He signed a 5-year, $82.5 million deal, but the average annual value was $16.5 million. So what do you think would be a solid average annual value for a guy like Josh Hart and what he can contribute to this team?
I think those guys you just named, he's in the same, in the same vicinity as those guys. I don't think each guy does something well. Josh Hart does a little bit of everything well. So I think I'm not mad at 18 a year. Between anywhere between like 16 and 19 is not a bad number for Josh Hart. And I think keeping him with Jalen Brunson is huge. I just think you have two winners who have won together before. They trust each other. They have that chemistry that we haven't had amongst our guards in a while. So I'm not mad at that number. I'm not mad at that number. You look at a guy like Marcus Smart, won Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, not Marcus Smart, OG Anunoby. He's one of the wings right now that's on the market that's like His value is really high. I think he's going to get a bag at a point. I think OG is better than Josh Hart by a lot. Derek White, he's good. He has his moments, but I don't really know if he's that much better than Josh Hart, to be honest with you. And Lou Dort, I think Lou Dort is really good. I think he's still developing. He's a lockup defender. But like I said, Josh Hart does everything. You know, where Lou Dort might struggle, Josh Hart might excel as far as like being a rebounder, pushing the pace, and knocking down shots and whatnot. So I'm not mad at that number. I'm not mad at that number at all. And he's a New York Knicks type of player. Mm-hmm. You know, he's someone that no matter what he does, he's going to bust his ass, going to give it all out there. So he can miss 43s, but if he's out there playing hard, he's getting steals, he's defending, he's rebounding, he's diving on the floor, and he's using his fouls correctly. You know, we gonna love him as fans. So that type of guy, I want that type of guy on my team.
Yeah, I'm okay with extending or not extending or re-signing Josh Hart for somewhere in the vicinity of some of these deals, anywhere from 16 to about 18 mil. I think that's a nice sweet spot for a guy like Josh Hart. Initially, I was thinking about it. I'm like, 18 mil, you know, that's a decent amount of money. I don't know if we should, you know, invest all that in Josh Hart, seeing that, you know, for the most part, he's a role player and things like that. But then I started looking at it. I'm like, well, we just paid Evan Fournier $18 million to do a bunch of nothing.
Please. Please.
So if we're able to give, you know, Josh Hart 18 mil and him be as good as he was for us in the regular season and also in the postseason, I'll live with it, you know, especially when you look at some of the other values or some of the other contract values around the league. It falls in line with what his value is.
And you know, like, even so when you compare him to the other guys that make the same money around him, same amount of money, you know, that's a fair way to think about it. But I think aside from that, when you just look at the impact he had on our team when he got here, you know, like, he might not be better than somebody else that's making 18 million, and you might be like, well, that's too much for him because this guy is way better. He's making this much. But when you look at what he means to us and what he meant to us this entire season, like his value it means more for the Knicks than it might mean for a team like the Milwaukee Bucks or, you know, the Boston Celtics or something like that. Like, you know, so as soon as he came over, our season, we was pretty good up and down season. You know, we was on the fence anywhere between like 6 and 8. But when he came, it was like, you know, immediate impact. Made us a better team immediately. You know what I'm saying? He was that missing piece that we needed. So, and I think that's something that you can't like discredit, you know?
Yeah, he's definitely one of those glue guys. And I think you look at plus minus and things like that, the team has definitely been better with him out there on the court. The only thing is Tibbs has to realize you got to have him out there with more shooters. You can't go next season if we have Hart and RJ Barrett out there. You can't have them on the court together. Not for extended periods, because if you look at the matchup against the Heat, I think a lot of our worst lineups had those two guys out there where we really couldn't manufacture any type of offense, get any shots to fall and things like that. Right. So if we do have Josh Hart here, we have to understand he is a role player. He does have some limitations to his game, and Tibbs can't just throw him out there for 40 plus minutes and think he can play well with the remaining 11 guys out there on the roster.
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's one of those guys where he needs to be on the court with other good players. Like he's a guy off the bench. Like, I don't like Josh Hart. I like him coming off the bench, but I don't necessarily like him playing with the bench unit. I like him playing with the starters because he doesn't need to score, And then when it's time for him to score, he's going to get a wide open shot, which he's probably going to knock down, or he's going to push the pace of the game and speed the game up and get easier shots for the starters. So I think he's a better guy to play with better talent. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't mind him playing with the bench players for the most part. He just has to be out there with someone that can make plays, a playmaker. Or in the Heat series, we saw him out there, And he didn't have Quickley. With that second unit, Quickley was kind of like that engine that kind of broke down the defense. He was able to get good looks for his teammates. He was able to create some scoring opportunities, things like that. So when we saw Emmanuel Quickley removed from the lineup, it put a lot more pressure on guys like Josh Hart in that second unit. And, also put more pressure on RJ Barrett, because at times RJ Barrett overlapped with that second unit. So now you have RJ Barrett, Josh Hart out there. Those are two guys you can't really rely too much on their shooting. You look at Hart, you can't rely on his shooting much. Obi, his shooting was hit and miss. So right now, when you look at that second unit, there's not enough shooters out there for the floor space and to make life easier for guys like RJ to get into the paint. So that's when I saw some issues with the way Tibbs was using his lineup. But if Hart is out there with someone that can knock down shots and also penetrate and get into the paint, then I think it's okay for us to have him out there on the court with them. But in other situations where there's not that guy, you're going to see us struggle to find points offensively.
You know what? That was the one series I felt like he probably should have knocked the dust off Evan Fournier.
I don't know. You hear what Evan Fournier was talking. Evan Fournier said his season ended a long time ago. That man was not prepared to play.
It's crazy to say.
Bro, when I heard that, I said your season was over a long. Well, I hope they just keep paying you checks if you had already checked out.
Crazy to say. It's crazy to say, but it was just one of those things where it was like, we can open shots. We just not knocking them down. Yeah. The problem is that we can't make shots, and we got somebody who's known as a shot maker on the bench. Like, if you can't do anything, if you can't defend, if you can't do anything, the least you can do is make threes, make shots. So that was my thought process behind it. But if he was checked out, then you leave him where he was at. Get his ass out of here. Send him back to Orlando.
Facts. And even with what Bob Myers said earlier, you can have shooters, but if they're doing something that, that there's an area where they're extremely weak, like defensively, it's kind of hard to throw Evan Fournier out there when Jalen Brunson is going to be an issue defensively. Julius Randle's not giving you any effort defensively. Right. So now it really messes up how we defend. And our defense was solid against the Heat. If you look at what the Heat averaged in their series against the Bucks, what they averaged in their series against us, and what they averaged in their series now against the Celtics, there's a major drop-off in the points they were able to score in the series against us. So we did a good job containing them defensively. But if we were to introduce Evan Fournier into the rotation, I think they would have cooked him. He's a cone, you go right around him easily. And even then, you hope he can knock down the three. But even then, it's not like he was shooting 40-some-odd% in the games he was throwing in there. So it was a tough spot. I wouldn't have liked Evan Fournier to get some minutes. I just think he needs to be in a different system where you can kind of hide him with some stronger defenders. And I think the Knicks right now, in the lineups that we put him in, we didn't have good enough individual defenders to kind of overcome some of his deficiencies defensively.
Especially with the way Gabe Curry was playing and Max Thompson was playing.
Did you call him Max Thompson?
Max Thompson and Gabe Curry. with the way they was playing, man.
It was crazy. And they're still playing pretty well, too. What did Vincent? No, who was it that went off? It was Vincent, right? Didn't he go off like 30?
Vincent was destroying us.
Yeah.
It was the one game I think we were home. And it's like every time we made a run, we got right there. Gabe Vincent come off a screen from deep. Cash.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, all year. What's going on? That series had me stressed out. I'm not going to lie to you, bro.
Yeah. We got a question from my guy Jesco. Salute. It says, Keith and CJ, what are your thoughts on getting Donte DiVincenzo and trading Obi plus a pick for Buddy Hield? So, Donte, solid player offensively, nice another role player you can have come off the bench, can knock down shots, decent enough defensively. And then Buddy Hield, he's another sharpshooter, one of the best three-point shooters in the league. That might end up even being the deal. They end up trading Obi. And I don't know if I'd include a pick, too, though, for Buddy Hield. Knockdown shooter, but...
Protected, maybe a protected pick, something?
Maybe protected. Or even give him one of the protectors that we have from other teams. Not even our protector. Yeah. That's what I'd probably do. Not the Bucks, though, because the Bucks in 25, that might be a steal in terms of that first-round pick, especially if Giannis gets out of there. I'd be open to it. I think DiVincenzo is a solid player, nice role player that can knock down shots and be a solid offensive piece for this team. And then Buddy Hield, knockdown shooter. I don't think defensively he's as bad as Evan Fournier or anything like that. So he's definitely a solid player we can bring in. Huh?
He's a better shooter than Fournier too.
Yeah, one of the best in the league. I would say top 5, top 3 even.
I wouldn't be mad at that, especially Indiana. They got a bunch of wings over there, a bunch of young wings over there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I can see them moving on from Buddy. I do think Obi is going to be good in the right system, but you know, it's hard to really make trades and think of, well, this guy might be better over there. You know, you kind of just got to consider your team.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I wouldn't be mad at Buddy. I wouldn't be mad at Buddy to be definitely the shooting that we need. You won't be able to, you know, really just key in on Randle and RJ the way you usually should, especially with a guy like Buddy in the corner, because he's a knockdown shooter. He's going to knock that down. So I wouldn't be mad at that trade.
Yeah, I'd be open to it.
Especially since there's no place for Obi right now. We got Randle. If we're not going to move on from Randle no time soon, and Obi's still going to be on the bench in 10, 12 minutes a game, and it's like, go ahead, go get Buddy. You know, he's going to help us now. So I like that idea. It's not a bad trade. Dante DiVincenzo, I'm cool with him.
Not a fan?
I think he's decent.
Yeah, decent piece off the bench. And for him, I think he's a free agent, so we wouldn't even have to trade for him. It would just be some cap space. I think we got about $12 million that we'd have to bring in a player.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think he looks better because of the system that he's in now.
Mm-hmm. With Golden State, yep.
Yeah, I think that system helps a lot of players flourish, especially guys that shoot.
That can shoot.
Play the way he plays.
And it's crazy. We have the blueprint on film. Why can't Tibbs just take some of that and add it to what we do offensively? It's not like our offensive system is something that we should say is untouchable because it's so great. You know, you've got guys like Quentin Grimes. You've got Emmanuel Quickley that can come around screens, get open, and knock down some open looks. Why we don't do that a little bit more? But
you don't have the players that
I mean, not the same caliber, but we do have shooters that can operate in similar scenarios. Like Quentin Grimes can come around screens, catch shots, and catch the ball and knock down threes. Same thing with Emmanuel Quickley.
But I'm not saying like the caliber of shooters, the caliber of players. I'm just talking about the entire system, the way that system works. It's all revolved around Draymond Green. Like,
well, we have iHeart. iHeart is a phenomenal passer, especially with that second unit.
He's not Draymond, though.
He's not Draymond, but we're not acting. Go ahead.
I was gonna say he's not the ball handler that Draymond is either. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of Draymond stuff is him dribbling, doing dribble handoffs, or if he picks and pop, he could create and kind of kick it out, or him and Steph got that certain type of chemistry. Like if Julius Randle, they have the same type of skill set, but if Julius Randle was a lot less selfish, then it probably would work. You know, but Draymond's whole thing is I'm going to be a defensive anchor and I'm going to get these guys open and I'm going to make the offense fluid and flow and those kind of things. So
do the little things that most people don't see.
Yeah, I just don't think we have the players for that. But we got shooters. I mean, theoretically, it probably could work. We just don't have the people that have the mindset to make it work. If that, you get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like that kind of thing. But I don't know.
We got Uncle Fulio in the chat. Salute. Thank you for tuning in. He says, I would be reluctant to pay a guy taking 7 shots a game off the bench, 18 mil. I mean, I understand those type of reservations, but with the way the CBA is moving and, the cap room rising in each year, I'd be open to it. I think we're going to see a lot of these role players, making that type of money, whether it be from, $14 to $18 million a year. So, maybe 10, 15 years ago, you might not see it. What did we sign Jerome James for? Like $6 million a year? and we were in an uproar for that one. Like, why are we paying him so much money?
Something dirt cheap. Yeah, it's like, that's the thing. Like with that, when you think of, you have that mindset, the money then is not what the money is now. $18 million a year it sounds like a lot to us, but considering the other players in the league and how much money is involved in the league now, it's not that bad of a contract. Like it's really not that crazy. Like when you think about it, and for me with somebody like Josh Hart, it's more than just scoring. It's more than just how many shots he takes or how many shots he makes. Like, he's going to do
impact.
Every team needs a guy that's going to do the little things. You know what I'm saying? Like, look at a team like the Cavs. The Cavs had a whole bunch of talent, but they had nobody that was going to do little things. You get what I'm saying? Like, you could put a bunch of talent together, but if you don't have that guy that's going to, you know, like, he's going to want to guard the best player, or he's, you know, he can switch matchups, and you know he's going to play hard every night. Like, I feel like every team needs that guy. Look at Denver. Denver got Bruce Brown.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Denver hasn't. They pretty much had the same team in the last few years, but when they added that guy like Bruce Brown, or they added that guy like Aaron Gordon,
mm-hmm.
you know, that doesn't care about scoring. That's just going to do all the little things. Or look at Boston with Marcus Smart. You know, like those kind of teams. And Miami just has a whole team full of guys like that. Like,
yep.
Yeah, so I think that guy is like, regardless of scoring, that type of player is so valuable in the league right now. I mean,
those glue guys.
Yeah, you need those guys.
So good find by the front office, and you know I'd be open to the 18 mil. So I'm gonna end the poll. While we were discussing, I put a poll in the chat. I asked how much should the Knicks re-sign Josh Hart for. 76% says we should sign him for 15 to 17 mil. 14% say 17 to 20 mil, and then we have 9% they're trying to lowball him, get him for 12 to 15 mil.
No, it's not gonna happen, bro.
I think the contract he's opting out for this season is actually around 12 mil. Let me see.
Yeah, he's gonna get a pay. He's gonna get a pay raise. What I think I said 16 and 19. So that's I'm not mad at it. Anything in between that 15 to 19. I'm not mad at that.
Yeah, so I think he's supposed to be making 13 mil. So if he's opting out, you expect him to at least make that and more.
Yeah,
if not more.
Let's talk about crazy.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about Quick before we wrap up, because he's another one that we have to either extend or enter the season, finish the season, and allow him to hit the open market, which might not be something that the team really wants to do. So I put together a few other guys that have deals similar to what we're hearing being rumored for Emmanuel Quickley. Some people think Quickley could make as much as 20 mil. You look at Norman Powell. He signed a deal for 5 years, 90 mil. That's an average annual value of 18 mil. You've got Keldon Johnson, 4 years, 74 mil, average annual value of 18.5 mil. And then Marcus Smart, one of the glue guys you mentioned just a while ago. He signed a deal for 4 years, 76 mil, which is an average annual value of 19.1 mil. Now, if we get the Quick that we saw in the last, 20, 25 games of the season, I say give him 20 mil, no biggie. But we saw him struggle in the playoffs. And, you know, the playoffs is where you really want to evaluate some of these guys when you're trying to build a championship contending roster. So, right. You know, with what we've seen from Quick, kind of similar to what we've seen with Julius Randle. Not that there's no effort or things like that, but we've just seen him struggle once the pressure has kind of, you know, increased or been raised up. So what type of deal would you give Emmanuel Quickley if you were sitting across from him at a negotiating table?
The guys you just named, I don't think Quickley is on any of those guys' level. Like, I don't think he's as good as any of those guys.
Well, he beat out Powell in terms of the Sixth Man of the Year voting. Yeah,
but Powell's a much better player than Quickley.
Overall?
You know, overall he's a much better player than Quickley. I think Quickley, he shows signs and spurts. You know, I think he's a good guy to have as a sixth man. I just don't really know, you know, how much we can get from Quickley. I wouldn't really want to pay him too much money. A lot of people fall in love with scoring and whatnot, and a lot of the big games that Quickley have, they always are toward the end of the season, which are like the dog days of the season, when teams are sitting players or teams are already like solidified their spot in the playoffs and whatnot. I'm not trying to take away from his performances and stuff like that, but when it comes to like big games and, you know, big shots and close games, you don't really see too much Quickley. Like, and if you if you look at what Quickley did in the playoffs, I mean, like who was that guy? Like, is that the real Quickley, or is this guy that's just doing this thing and the dog days of the NBA season the real Quickley? Like, because he was completely ineffective. I mean, like, we talking about games with 0 points, talking about games with 4 points, like nothing at all. So I really wouldn't want to give Quickley that much money, honestly.
Yeah, I'd be skeptical about giving Quick 20 mil. I'd probably pay him similar to what I'm paying Josh Hart. I think the biggest issue is that Emmanuel Quickley sees himself in a larger role than I think the Knicks are willing to give him. I think Quick views himself as a starter. He went to school with Maxey. I'm sure they have a friendly competition. You see Maxey, he's rumored to be getting, somewhere close to a max deal from
Maxey's
the 76ers.
better too. Maxey deserves that. We've seen what Maxey did in the playoffs.
Yeah, he went off.
2 years for Philly. He was last year in the playoffs. He was the best player for Philly in the playoffs with Embiid and Harden. This year, he had games where he looked like he was the best player on that team. So, deservedly so,
Yeah, but you look at what Emmanuel Quickley. I don't know if he said this himself, but what's been said in back channels is he views himself as someone that could start in the league. So I don't know if he'd be willing to accept a lesser deal that the Knicks would kind of offer him. To me, I think 20 mil, like I said, too much. He's a solid role player. I think him off the bench is, I think, the ideal situation for him. And, I'd be willing to give him the 15 to 18 mil. No arguments there. But we saw him struggle immensely in the playoffs. So when I'm trying to build out a roster, at least in my head, I'm not the GM or nothing like that. But if I'm trying to build out a roster, I'm trying to bring in some people that I know can perform in the playoffs, because the regular season is a grind. I hear you. You want people to perform well, but I want to see you be at your best when the pressure is amplified. You know what I mean? That's another issue people have with Tibbs. Tibbs is a great regular season coach, but when the pressure is amplified, he kind of can't make those adjustments and match that type of chess game like we saw in the Heat series. But with Emmanuel Quickley, when the pressure was at its highest, we didn't see him play anywhere near what we saw him do in the regular season. And then he's still somewhat inconsistent in the regular season because he started the year off rough. He did pick things up towards the later half, but we just don't get that type of consistency from him that you want when you're going to give a guy 20 some odd mil a year, give him an $80 to $100 million contract over 4 or 5 years. So for me, I'd be a little bit hesitant. I think if he's able to play at his peak, he's more than worth the 20 mil. It's just how often and how many games are we going to see him at his peak, and when will those games present themselves? Because if they're in the postseason, then you say, all right, I'll bite the bullet, give him the 20 mil because I know he's going to be an impact performer come playoff time, like we saw with a guy with Josh Hart. But as of right now, I don't really have any proof that he'll be able to do that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Quickley to me, he just feels like a front runner. Like when we up
what, all the dancing?
Yeah, when we up in games, he's knocking down all threes and he's extending the league. But when it's like when it's crunch time and we really need you to really step up and make big plays, he's kind of compares. You know what I'm saying? Like I like Quickley. He's a lot better than I thought he was going to be in the league, but I just don't know. I just feel like we value him way more than what he actually is, Like just being a Knicks fan and like never, haven't really had any good guards for a while. I think we kind of overvalue our players sometimes, but I think he's a piece that people would be willing to, bring in on the team just to have a spark off the bench, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know though. Like I'm not mad at that $15 to $18 million range that you said for Quickley, especially with the new CBA. So
yeah, I think the reason people like Quick is he can do a lot of everything, a little bit of everything out there on the court, and also when this team is firing on all cylinders, a lot of it is because of a guy like Emmanuel Quickley. He can come in, he can knock down some big shots at some key moments of games, helps shift the momentum. And things like that. I don't know if he's non-existent or he falters in high pressure situations in the regular season. I saw it more so him not being ready for the moment in the postseason. So to me, you look at this team, you look at what we're trying to become. we're trying to be legitimate playoff contenders, and we need guys that are going to step up come playoff time. And we can't have $20 million of our cap allotted to a guy that the last time we saw him struggled immensely. So for me, that 20 mil I think is a little bit too much. 15 to 18, even if he wanted to be a shorter deal or something, you know, don't give him the full 5 or 4 years, maybe 3 years with an option. Or at least it allows him to opt out after 3 years if he feels he's, you know, in line for a larger contract.
Right. I think like if you had a drop off, you know, from the regular season to the playoffs, that's fine, you know. But if it's like a slight drop off, that's one thing. But to completely give us like nothing at all, you know, that's cause for cause. So something to reevaluate, I think.
I didn't put the stats on screen for him in the regular season or postseason, but in the regular season, he shot 14.9%. Oh, not 14.9. He averaged 14.9 points per game, averaged 3.4 assists per game, and had 4.2 rebounds per game. He was a pretty decent performer in the regular season. It's just during playoffs, he really struggled, and you know all those numbers pretty much fell off a cliff. So, and also throughout his career, efficiency has been a pretty big issue. Heading into the season, it was a goal of his to shoot over 40% from the field. To me, as a that's kind of crazy. It's your goal to shoot over 40% from the field. That should be a given, especially if you're somebody ever looking to get us a bucket.
Yeah, he's off and on, man. He's a volume scorer. But
who doesn't really have the opportunity to put up enough shots to really be as effective as a volume scorer, unless you have Jalen Brunson out. Like when we saw Jalen Brunson out and he was able to get those 30-some-odd minutes, regularly, really saw him cook. But with Tibbs here, he's only getting 20 to 27 minutes a game, you would think. So that's another thing.
It's hard to really, keep him in there too much because Brunson got to play. Brunson got to be on that floor. And how long can you keep two small guards on the floor that don't really defend the best,
Well, Quick, when he's engaged, he's a solid defender. I think he has the wingspan to disrupt things. He does a good job intercepting passes and things like that, understanding where people are trying to go with the ball and things like that. So me defensively, I think he's one of the better defenders we have on the squad between him and Quentin Grimes when it comes to perimeter defenders and at the point of attack. I like Quick as a defender. It's just in the postseason, we saw him take a step back defensively for some reason.
Yeah. Maybe the moment was too big. I think the moment was too big for him, honestly.
Say it one more time?
That doesn't feel good to say that the moment was too big for him.
Mm-hmm.
But we need guys that's going to step up in the moment and shine in the moment. But the moment's too big for you. It's kind of like, what are we doing here,
Which is the same argument we had with Julius Randle. The moment felt like it was too big for him.
We all professionals, so it's like, I don't know about Quickley, honestly.
Yeah, so I closed the poll. I asked, how much would you pay Immanuel Quickley a year? 75% said 15 to 17 mil. 25% said 17 to 20 mil. And then nobody said they'd give him the 20 mil plus.
Yeah, see, we all in the same ballpark here. We all thinking the same thing. I'm not mad at that 15 to 17.
Mm-hmm.
It's not bad.
Yep. East Blue Drew says, I still trust IQ next playoffs over Randle. We're in the same line with you, East Blue Drew. Ashley Inc. 1 says Quick is an elite defender, but his offense is erratic. 4 years, 60 mil, or else wait until next year for his RFA. 4 years, 60. That's that's 15 mil average annual value. So that's right. That falls in line with what we believe.
Yeah. You keep Quick out there though, like the issue is not really Quickley. I'm not gonna say he's a lead defender too. I think he's a good defender. I think you lead is like guys like Drew Holiday, Lou Dort. I think those guys are elite. I think Quickley's a pretty good defender, but when you have him playing the two, when Brunson is out there, it's a lot. When you're a bigger point guard, it's a lot easier to guard point guards. But when you play in the two, you undersized, so you can't really. It's hard to really have a guy like Quickley out there if you're playing against the Boston Celtics, like with Brunson. You know what I'm saying? Because now Quickley's on Jalen Brown. You know, or he's switching on Jason Tatum. Like, that's a mismatch. So I think maybe Quickley's better minutes to me is when Brunson is off the floor and he can kind of flourish with the ball in his hand.
Yeah, I believe so too. Even though I do like Quick and Brunson out there on the court together, I do think Quick is in his element when he has the ball in his hand and he's able to make decisions and things like that. And it's been a big argument here whether or not Quickley's a point guard and things like that. I think he can be a formidable lead guard.
I think it's a point guard for sure. I think he'd be a point guard.
Especially in this modern NBA where, your point guard isn't just out there to set teammates up. They're also out there looking for their own shot. You look at guys like Curry, you look at guys like Lillard. That's how they play the game. All right, CJ, thank you for joining me. We'll wrap it up here. I don't want to hold you too long. We've been on for about an hour and a half, which is about half hour longer than I had expected. But, when you're having fun, you don't want to end too quickly. So appreciate you joining. Thank you, everybody in chat. We really do appreciate it. Make sure you smash that like button. I will be live again. I don't know the date. Maybe I'll be live again on Sunday. I'll let you guys know. So be tuned in for that. CJ, anything you want to say before we wrap it up? Any shout outs you want to give out or things like that?
I was going to say, man, thank you for having me. Appreciate it. Always good talking Knicks.
Yes, sir.
Getting feedback from other Knicks fans and whatnot. And, it's something I would love to do again. So thank you. Appreciate you, man.
Also, make sure you guys are tuned in and check out Silk City on Instagram, and make sure you guys get your Silkies. They've got shirts, they've got do-rags, they've got bonnets for the ladies. They make sure they look out for you guys, or you ladies, and make sure you tuned in to them. Once again, I'd like to have you back on the channel. Just let me know whenever you're available, and we can chop it up, all right?
Sir, thanks. Have a good day, man.
Yes, sir. All right, thank you all. Wrapping it up. Enjoy your Memorial Weekend. It's also Memorial Weekend, so you guys have fun. The beaches are going to be opening up. The pools are going to be opening up, so it's lit in New York when that happens.